the health journey can be hard, right? It can be hard for different people for different reasons. So for, to have someone to walk with, to have someone that treats them like family, to have someone that, people can trust, that's really important. I mean, that's how everyone wins in this space.
For me personally, also.
I'm like, no. You're a saint. The Doing the Work podcast is brought to you by some amazing sponsors who we're very grateful for that allow us to do this amazing podcast that brings you information that helps you to be more connected and be more healthy and helps you grow in your life. The Doing the Work podcast is all about optimal health, community, and personal growth. And here in Bastrop, there's really not a better example of that than Tracy's Drive-In Grocery. The store's been around since 1946. It's got an amazing history. Everyone in the community loves this store. It's a hub of health and connection, and really just still continuing to grow and do better things. They just recently added a coffee bar, which was just voted one of the top 3 coffee spots in Bastrop. And there's a lot more that they're planning to do to better serve the community. So if you're looking for some healthy food, some snacks, some of your guilty pleasures, anything like that, go check out Tracy's Drive-In Grocery. The website is www.tracysgrocery.com.
All right. Welcome to Doing the Work podcast. I'm your host, Athan Schindler, and this podcast is about me having amazing conversations with people and sharing it with you guys. And today I'm super excited about my guest, Jason Belvill. He is one of the co-founders of BodySpec, which is a company I respect very much. I've not only personally used BodySpec, but have used BodySpec for my gyms. And so, Jason, thank you so much for jumping on the call today, or jumping on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So how do you introduce yourself to people? Give us the kind of quick rundown of who you are.
How do I introduce myself? I say I'm Jason. My identity is kind of largely tied to BodySpec at this point. I mean, we've been running this ship for 7-8 years now. Started it in LA, and it's just grown, substantially over the years. And we're connecting with so many more people in the community and different gyms and organizations. So, me, military background. I went to the Air Force Academy. I served in the military for 6.5 years. I was doing government acquisitions, working with satellites, but I've always been in the health space. Been an athlete my whole life, and when I had an opportunity to get out, jump into BodySpec, it was just a no-brainer. Never looked back. Work with an incredible team, work with incredible clients, and really kind of feel like we're making a difference. So yeah, I mean, I'm Jason, and I'm BodySpec. That's kind of how I look at myself.
Tell me a little bit about that. Like, how did BodySpec get started? I know you're a co-founder. Who did you start it with? How did all that go?
So BodySpec, one of the other co-founders, Elaine, she was studying at UCLA. So she was at Anderson School of Business, and was working with one of my classmates who I went to the Air Force Academy with. And together they were kind of working on the idea of BodySpec in business school. So they kind of did the academic exercise and ran the feasibility study and made the business plan. And the idea just kind of started growing legs. And eventually when their program finished, and there was an opportunity to actually start this business, we did. So I was connected to Elaine through that mutual friend. And then from there, it was kind of a really expensive experiment.
Yeah, I can only imagine having started several businesses now, and knowing what even the ones that seem to be like real low barrier to entry can cost. I can only imagine how scary it was to kind of start a mobile DEXA scan business. Well, before we jump into BodySpec specifically, you mentioned that kind of always been in the health space. You have a background. You're an athlete. Tell me a little bit about that. Kind of your history with like health and athletics.
Yeah, former athlete. Just to clarify, former athlete. I'm not as athletic these days. No, but I grew up playing sports. So sports was always just part of my life. I started really zeroing in on soccer as I was, heading into high school, and then I played soccer in college, and then I competed a little bit after college as well. So, had competed internationally and, had some really great experiences and opportunities there. But yeah, I never really thought about health and wellness. It was just kind of part of my life, just my daily routine, the choices I made in terms of, exercise and nutrition. I never really put much thought into it as I was kind of growing up. But just because that's what I know and it's been such a big part of my life, it makes sense that I fell into this space. I just have such a deep seated passion for this space and what it means to people. So
awesome. Well, let's so tell us a little. Again, I've used BodySpec, and many of my members have used BodySpec, but most of the people listening might not have heard of you all. They don't know what you do. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So BodySpec, we focus on body composition data, and really we kind of focus on preventative health because the information that we provide is information that you could get from a doctor's office, you could get from a hospital or clinic, but we have just made it so accessible to anybody. So I think it's phenomenal, and I know that's how we kind of connected because we had worked with your gym and your members who are already going to your spot, working out, taking care of their health, and so it's top of mind for them. And we bring our service to so many different organizations, gyms, of course, because people are already kind of prioritizing their health. But I mean, we go to different corporations. We're part of different, health and wellness fairs. We work with professional athletes. We've worked with, medically supervised weight loss patients. We really serve a wide spectrum of individuals because everyone is on a health journey. Every single person, right? Regardless of where you are. So the process itself is really simple. The actual service itself is, we show up, we drive our vans on site. It's a full body x-ray machine that someone lies down on, completely non-invasive, takes maybe 7-8 minutes on average. And then results are generated immediately afterwards. So it's a very quick process. The price point is incredibly low. I think we're the lowest priced DEXA scan in the country. And again, non-invasive, and the data, you just cannot get data like this anywhere. So
yeah, talking about that, one of the things I've loved personally when getting the report from BodySpec is the amount of data, just all the data points that are on there. Could you tell us a little bit about what do you think what's the value of getting that body composition assessment, and maybe talk a little bit about the reports?
Well, can I ask you, am I allowed to ask questions? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, it's better when you ask questions.
Yeah. No, I just think it's a good question, but you were a client, like you came in and you got the scan. And so I'm curious from your perspective, like what was most impactful for you, like as a user, as an individual, like how did you use the data? How do you feel like it impacted the way you approach your health?
Yeah, it's for me. It did several things. Number one, most of the time I'm in some version of trying to maintain my athletic performance, right? And so through that is I'm following a nutrition program of some sort. And it's hard to tell, like, if your nutrition program is working when, just by looking in the mirror or jumping on the scale, or, obviously in your workouts, you can tell some of it. But I'm a data-driven person. So getting the scan helped me. One, I could make sure that I was maintaining lean mass, so I wasn't overtraining. Is a big thing for me, making sure that I'm not overtraining. I'm not one who cares a lot about my body fat percentage, but if my body fat percentage starts to drop too low, I also is an indicator of overtraining. So I kind of keep an eye on that. And then I really like, from the report, getting things like looking at like my bone density and how my bone density kind of changes over time. I like looking at the health metrics on the report about like visceral fat, which is a different type of fat that not all of us, you don't always see like subcutaneous layers of fat, but it's still an important health metric. So, and then I like just seeing the image of it, like that, I can see like over time, like how my body's changed and stuff, like in the, I'm holding my hands up for, but people who, maybe are watching or listening, you get this really cool, like digitized picture of yourself, and it kind of shows where your body fat is and then how your body has changed over from test to test. So that's what I've gotten out of it.
No, I mean, that's phenomenal. I mean, and different people kind of pull different things, I mean, that are relevant to them. I mean, the report itself, I mean, this is a comprehensive body composition test. So there's a lot of ways to measure body fat. I mean, you could use calipers, you could stand on a scale. There's a lot of ways to do that. But to get this type of data where we can actually measure visceral fat, that's on par with a measurement that you would get from a CT scan, without without scheduling the appointment or just the burden of getting that set up. I mean, we're actually providing a measurement that is indicative, that has different health implications, right? I mean, if this is something that people are tracking or something that's kind of off the mark, this is a way to kind of monitor that and kind of get ahead of it before it becomes more problematic. Visceral fat, as you may or may not know, I mean, that's an indicator for, the onset of type 2 diabetes, too much visceral fat, right? There's other metrics in the report like muscle symmetry. This becomes really relevant for someone that may have had, a limb injury, an ACL surgery or a, shoulder rotator cuff or something happens where they're experiencing extreme muscle atrophy on one side of their body, and they're on a pathway to kind of improve that and kind of neutralize that and balance it out, right? We can actually show the progress. We can show what the baseline is and how somebody needs to kind of focus and isolate those limbs to improve that muscle mass over time. So it's robust. I mean, and different people are going to use it for different metrics, but it's all relevant and it's all applicable, just again, depending on where people are in their health journey. It even reports resting metabolic rate. So, I mean, that's based off an algorithm, but it's the most accurate way to do it because it's utilizing the measurement of lean tissue that the DEXA scan provides. So when someone's trying to program, nutrition and figure out, caloric intake and because many people do that, you need that data. Otherwise, you're just guessing.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up around nutrition programs because, as someone who is a nutrition coach and helps people with their nutrition, it's always, if I don't have the level of data that you guys provide, it's always a little bit of a guessing game. It's a filling out because one of the things that you just mentioned is 100% true. Your total daily energy expenditure is largely driven off of, your lean mass, how much lean mass you have. Just, even at a resting state or at sleep, you're going to have a much higher caloric output than you would, or caloric demand than you would as someone who had less lean mass than you. So having that information is super helpful for someone who's kind of helping people with their nutritional programs.
Yeah. How do you manage how do you structure your nutrition kind of guidance, I guess? Is it based on macros? Is it based on like a particular framework?
So I'm a precision nutrition level 1 coach. And so their programs have, I would say flexible. They teach us how to do things because depending on who you're working with, some people may really want to follow like a strict macronutrient guidance, and other folks might want to do something that's a little, loose. Like they use the hand method. They teach us how to use the hand method and all that stuff. But what I prefer to do is to find out, obviously, the person's age, height, weight, what their goals are, what their level of activity is, and then try to basically, based off of that, figure out the formula for what their total daily energy expenditure is. And then based on their goal, I'm going to give them a macronutrient guidance that is either at a deficit or at an excess, that helps them reach their target.
Absolutely. No, love that. I love that. For us, just kind of working with different folks in the community. I mean, we've talked about this before. Like I just consider, because we work with so many different types of organizations, right? We work with CrossFit boxes. We work with strength and conditioning gyms. We work with professional facilities. We work with, individual trainers and different nutritionists and what have you. And everyone's just kind of, I consider everyone really like a health ambassador in the space. I mean, we're all driving towards kind of a common goal of just helping the clients that we work with achieve their goals, whatever they are to them at whatever point they are in their health journey. And so, it's important for us as a company and as a service to help in that process, right? Quantify those results, quantify that progress, give feedback, provide kind of a check and balance for everyone as they're kind of pursuing this. Again, it can feel frustrating if people are guessing, right? If you as the coach if you're guessing, if the client's guessing, it can just feel like a frustrating process where you're treading mud, and that's just not. This is a situation where you want people to be focused. You want them to have constant feedback. It just keeps everyone moving in the right direction. So,
yeah, as a coach, it's frustrating sometimes when my athletes kind of really buck assessments or measurements of tools. It's again because if we've been working together for 2, 3, 4, 5 months, and I don't have any like real good picture of how things are going for them. Again, some metrics might be just physical. It might be like, how are they lifting more weight? Are they running faster? That's one data point. But if I'm working with someone on body composition, which a lot of my nutrition clients, most of them want to lose weight, right? But if they're not willing to get some sort of assessment or test to accurately measure where they're at, like you said, I'm just guessing. The weight on the scale doesn't tell me everything. Progress photos don't tell me everything. You need a more comprehensive kind of suite of data points to know exactly how things are going with their body.
Plus, too, Athan, I mean, if you think about it, somebody, a client comes in and they weigh 150 pounds, right? And the goal is to lose body fat percent, right? It's to tighten up, it's to get a little stronger, maybe get a little leaner, whatever that person's goals are, right? But let's just say it's along one of those pathways, right? I mean, a month could go by, that person could still weigh 150 pounds, but they might have lost a few pounds of fat, right? They might have gained a few pounds of muscle. They might have, like, their waist size might be a little slimmer. Like, it's just the number on the scale just doesn't do justice for somebody that is, again, focused on their health. It's not just necessarily about change, right? Because a lot of times we get really focused on like, well, I want to lose 5 pounds. That's my goal. Or I want to, I want to gain 3 pounds of muscle or whatever it is. It's just like this attainable, small, discrete, incremental goal. Sometimes it's just about not falling off the wagon, right? I mean, we talk about this constantly at BodySpec.
Right.
It's the equivalent of like, going to the dentist, right? I mean, you're happy if you go to the dentist and you don't have a cavity, right? And so again, like our service as a form of preventative health, we're really kind of focused on that now with our clients and the organizations we work with to kind of make that message clear. Like we're part of a routine right now for every individual who's just focused on their health, period, right? Because it's preventative. We can give feedback if someone's fallen off the wagon. We can also help with challenges. We can help folks, we can kind of quantify if someone's lost 5 pounds or gained 5 pounds of muscle. Like we can do all that. But it's becoming so much more, in terms of what we're trying to offer to the community.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because a lot of times people can look at, the type of assessment you have is like specifically around, this concept of like, I need to change my body or there's something wrong with me. I need to fix it. And I love that you're talking about how to use that tool specifically as just a gauge of like your health. And one of the tenets of this show is optimal health. Like I want to help people to have optimal health. And some of the least healthy people that I know are people who are either trying to lose tons of weight or they're trying to get like super shredded and they're doing fairly extreme things, which often detracts from their overall health, or athletes who are really trying to achieve some sort of athletic, endeavor. And sometimes those folks can just grind and hit it hard to the point where it's detrimental to their health, and they're emotional as hell. They're not sleeping, all these things. So I'm so glad that you talked about just finding a baseline. You can just make sure that you're not going backwards or that you're maintaining.
I don't think as a whole we put enough emphasis on that, just kind of at large for everyone, right? Because, it's just better to start early, right? I mean, I think we all know that, right? It's just better to look at these things early, to take action early. And so as people are kind of, establishing healthy routines in their lives, I mean, this is part of that process of kind of looking at that holistically. So, and I'm sure you've seen the whole spectrum too, right? I mean, of folks that you've trained and people on their health journey, wherever that is, which I'm sure just as a coach has been incredibly rewarding, I would imagine. How on average, how long are you working with clients, or are you seeing clients? I mean, have you seen clients over the years?
Yeah, I've got some clients that I've been working with for over 10 years now that have been with me for that long. I say most of the time, if I can get someone to stick with me and to buy into the process for more than 90 days, most of the time, then I've earned the time to work with them for about 2 years. 2 to 3 years is kind of how that's the majority of the length of relationship with people I work with.
Yeah, I mean, it's a relationship at that point, I mean, you bleed together, you sweat together, you go through it, you go through the ups and downs. That's a really rewarding journey for everybody, for the clients and for you, I'm sure. So that's great.
Yeah, it's, I call these people my family. I mean, a lot of these people are like my brothers and sisters and uncles, and aunts. And it is really rewarding. I mean, I think anyone who's been a coach before, anyone who's given of themselves to help other people with their goals knows how invested you can get into somebody with somebody, and it really having nothing to do with what you get out of it. It's just all about that other person. And I know I personally get a ton out of it. And most coaches I know, that's part of their payment. It isn't just money or anything like that, but it's that accomplishment of getting to work with somebody.
And we love seeing that too. I mean, because we've been around for so long. I mean, we have folks that There's some folks that have scanned with us 30, 40 times, really kind of having that mindset of, again, preventative health and just staying on top of it and getting routine scans, even if they're not doing like a 60-day nutrition challenge, or even if it's not January 1st, they're still scanning because, again, they're just really focused on that concept. And so it's fun to have those relationships. So like I applaud you. I have a great amount of respect and appreciation for that because, the health journey can be hard, right? It can be hard for different people for different reasons. So for, to have someone to walk with, to have someone that treats them like family, to have someone that, people can trust, that's really important. That's how everyone wins in this space. So yeah, we love seeing that because some of these clients, they've been around for a long time, and they keep coming back, and they know it's a safe space that they can rely on and trust, and it just becomes part of the journey,
Yeah, trust is important. And that's one of the things that I really like about BodySpec and why we've used you guys so much is that it feels like it's a far more reliable and trustworthy tool than, like you mentioned, caliper. How many times I messed up a calipers assessment or tape measure, a body circumference. I mean, I've messed those up. I mean, I've been doing this for 24 years, and I can think of so many times that I've messed up those types of assessments. So maybe could you tell a little bit about like the accuracy of the DEXA scan and like the type of assessment that they would get from y'all?
Yeah, I've been kind of privy to all the different methods. When I was in school, we had a human performance lab, and we had DEXA scans, but we also had hydrostatic testing, the dump tank that a lot of people are maybe familiar with, bioelectrical impedance. There's ultrasound, there's just the anthropometric measurements, right, where you're doing calipers or circumference. So there's a lot of ways to kind of approach this. DEXA, the technology originally was designed specifically for bone density, right? So they were trying to provide more accurate ways to diagnose older folks with osteoporosis, osteopenia. But because of the technology, because it's an X-ray, it's a very low dose X-ray, it can actually differentiate between the different tissue types. So fat has a distinct kind of density compared to bone, compared to lean mass. And so when you're looking at a true measurement and not like an algorithm, right? Like a bioelectrical impedance scale, when you stand on that scale, it's an algorithm, right? That it's spitting back and it's estimating what your body fat percent is, what your water weight is. But with the DEXA, it's a true measurement using X-ray that is providing a measurement that, the technical spec is plus or minus 1% in terms of accuracy. So it is the highest form of accuracy, highest form of precision available. And both of those metrics are important, precision and accuracy, because you want something that's repeatable. You want something that's consistent. And so when you come back in a month or for your monthly checkup, or when you come back after your, 60-day nutrition challenge or whatever you're doing, you need to have confidence and trust that the measurement is true, right? That the change that you're seeing, if you're seeing any at all, is accurate, because that's the only way that you can kind of course correct from there. So yeah, we're incredibly lucky to be able to bring this technology to so many people and just make it so accessible, because again, the price point is low, with the fact that we can deliver this on a mobile platform, to take it to your gym, to your company, to your neighborhood. That's important, right? Because we want to make it easy for people to have access to the technology.
Yeah, the accessibility is important. Where all are you guys located? I know that I've used you here in Austin, Texas, and in the surrounding town of, Pflugerville, and in Bastrop, Texas. But I know you guys are in other places. Where all are you?
Yeah, we have an office in Culver City, so in Southern California. We have an office in San Francisco, and we do have an office in North Austin. So we have 3 brick and mortar facilities in those different regions, but we have operations in Seattle, in San Francisco, in Los Angeles, in Austin, in Dallas. So we have trucks that are serving each of those major metropolitan areas. So yeah, it just makes it really nice to be able to have the ability to travel, to go to different locations that otherwise may not come to us. So
just out of curiosity, like where do you see the most, like where you are the busiest? Which one of those locations are you kind of getting the most work?
That's a good question. I mean, we launched this company in LA. So, we have a big presence down there. We've been down there for a long time. And then over the years, we've just kind of built up our presence in new regions. So, California, I mean, we have a large operation in California. Seattle, I have a couple trucks and those stay busy. All week long. And in Austin and Dallas, we're spending a lot of energy and time kind of building the market here and just making the service again more accessible, and just building kind of brand awareness in these regions. But I mean, once we work with somebody, we tend to see them over and over because it just becomes a part of habit and a part of routine. So.
Awesome. I'm going to shift gears a little bit because I like to, when I have someone on the show, I like to really get to know them. I like to know what makes them tick, because, and especially, because I think that's really for me what it's all about. You mentioned I'm a coach, and what I like to know is how can I share stuff on this show that helps other people kind of level up or learn something. So you were just talking about habits. You were talking about in a different context, but I'm curious, do you have habits that you do every day or regularly that help you to be your best, or whether physically, emotionally, mentally? Just really curious about your habits.
Yeah, I drink a lot of coffee. Is that considered a habit? I mean, a lot of coffee. That's how I wake up, and that's how I stay awake.
Have you heard of white coffee?
I haven't heard of white coffee. No, tell me about that.
It's like a minimally roasted coffee bean that has like high caffeine. I've been drinking white coffee lately because it's like the more you roast a coffee bean, the less caffeine it has in it. So this is like the least roasted type of bean you can have, and it tastes completely different than coffee, but it's actually really good, and it's jet fuel. So I don't know. Maybe you can try that. You'll have to drink less coffee.
White coffee. Okay. All right. Can't get that at Starbucks. It doesn't sound like. Sounds like that's a special order, huh?
Yeah. You can order it online though. So Barry, what else? What other kind of habit you got?
Yeah. No, I'm an early bird. So for a long part of my life, I used to stay up really late at night. I would stay up till midnight, 1 a.m. When things quieted down, I thought I could, get work done and kind of catch up on things. But I just, you lose steam at the end of the day and you're not as fresh. So for the last, few years, I've been really focused on just totally transitioning. It was a hard transition, but I started waking up as early as possible, 5 a.m. most days, just to get up, get moving, have some quiet time, before the rest of the world wakes up. That's probably the habit that I kind of cling on to most, and that's kind of helped me the most, just personally, mental clarity, professionally. So that's what I focus on. What about you? What's your habit?
The biggest one that I think is the most powerful for me is I have a morning routine, things that I try to do every single morning that set my day up for success. And so that involves some sort of meditation. It involves the non-negotiables are journaling, meditation, and I have a kind of a list of like I call it my purpose dashboard, but it's like things that I've written over time that remind me of what's important to me, who I am, where I'm trying to go in this existence. And just because sometimes it's easy to just spiral out. You get so far away from who you really are. But if I make it a daily practice of like grounding myself and like, oh yeah, this is where I'm trying to go. This is who I'm trying to be. That really helps me. So those three things for sure are things that I do every single day when I'm really when I've got more time, which is a rarity. I do try to practice some form of visualization, trying to be like visualize myself being successful in a project or something that's important that's going that day, or that kind of stuff. But I think those are the things that really drive me forward and keep me operating at the highest level that I possibly can.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and in terms of just like purpose-driven work and focus during the day, I mean, kind of in line with big picture, like having a vision board. I don't know if you do any of that, but I think that's kind of an important exercise that people should revisit, at least once a year. I mean, just to kind of set the path for, for the work and the projects that people are taking on that year.
So, what kind of things we're speaking of, having a vision and having a purpose, what are BodySpec's goals? Like, what are you guys trying to accomplish? Where are you trying to take this thing?
That's a awesome question. Because we're pouring so much into the operation right now to make it better, make it more resilient, make it, again, more access is just, I can't say access enough, like in terms of a buzzword. We're just really trying to make this accessible for as many folks as possible. That could take on different forms in the future, but, one thing that we're really looking at critically right now is the opportunity to franchise, actually. We think that we have a very franchisable business. We get approached pretty regularly by just clients who have worked with us that are interested in franchising, because the model itself serves so many purposes, right? In terms of somebody being able to have ownership in the company, bring this to their community where they know all the players and they know all the local businesses and gyms and people, doing good in the world, just making, preventative health more accessible. Again, I just think there's a lot of synergies that make franchising BodySpec like an attractive opportunity. So, we're at the very beginning stages of kind of laying the groundwork to make that happen. There's going to be a lot of work that goes into that to make it all make sense and make it all successful. But big picture, I mean, that's where we're going. And that's really the way that we'll be able to scale to big proportions, in the coming years.
Yeah. What does it take to franchise? Like what is it, like, what are your challenges? What are some of the obstacles you're trying to work through? Like, how does that go?
Well, there's a lot. The reality is we don't know everything there is to know about franchising. None of us have done it. At BodySpec, we've never, I can say, like, we've never cut corners. We do the right thing. We do the hard thing. And we want to really understand problems so that we can come up with the best solutions, right? For franchising, it's new. We have a lot to learn. We want to get the right players in place in terms of folks who have done it successfully before us, maybe in different industries, but to serve as advisors and mentors. And in terms of the path forward, I mean, there's so many different components of it, from legal to operation, to sales marketing, to what type of support the franchisees will have from BodySpec as the franchisor, and just really thinking through all these elements critically, because the first franchisee especially, but all the franchisees, they need to be successful, right? There's no win-lose situation with franchising. There's only a win-win. And so we're really focused on that, and we think that's really important. So yeah, I mean, it's March right now. We're targeting end of year to kind of kick off the first one. So that'll come up. That's right around the corner. We have a lot of work to do before then, but yeah, we're laser focused on that right now.
Yeah, I know it's scary. Like, that's the thing about successful people, is that they are willing to risk failure, to do some things that are scary, to express themselves or to achieve something. And so I applaud you for taking on something like big and kind of scary like that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, no, we appreciate it. We're excited. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a big hill to climb, and we have such a good team of just willing, capable, eager, smart people. So it'll make that climb a little easier. But we're excited to do the work.
Awesome. Well, doing the work's the name of the podcast. So you're definitely you're the right person to have on the show.
That's right.
Well, I appreciate you guys so much. I'm grateful. I have benefited from the work that you do personally. I've benefited professionally. Many of the people that I've coached and that I lead have benefited from you all. So I'm just really grateful that you guys are out there doing the work that you're doing.
Hey, thank you so much, Athan. And likewise, I mean, very appreciative to be on the podcast, to connect. We talked previously about just kind of building these relationships in the community, and they're critical. This is how we make everyone better. And my hat's off to you for the following that you have, the community that you've created, and the impact that you've had with all of your clients. I think it's phenomenal. So yeah, thank you again for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. How can people find you? So now people are going to be curious about how to go get one of these highly accurate tests. Where do they go?
Yep. Head to the website. That's just BodySpec.com. And from there, you'll see a list of all of our locations. So if you're in Austin, we have events every day. We have a storefront that we operate. We have mobile events at different areas around town. So very easy to sign up. The cost, our membership cost, is $40 a month. Again, lowest price DEXA scan in the country. And that allows you to get a credit every month and kind of stay on top of it and scan on a recurring basis. So it's, come find us, and we're looking forward to seeing you.
Great. Well, thanks again for your time. I appreciate you. We will put all of your links in the show notes. And I just appreciate the wisdom that you shared and the information for the audience. Appreciate you being on the show.